What's up, class, and welcome back to another lesson in the No Mod Shop class here on the Skooled Zone. I plan to go about today's lesson a little differently than I normally do and make it super interactive with you guys. But before we get to all that, lots of additions to show you here at Jamaica Plain. First off, the votes are in for the name of our mascot cat, and the choice with the most votes was Cat Meat. Classic. So now that's officially Cat Meat's little loft up there, and I'll be adding some boxes and storagey things for him to climb on over the next few episodes. But here's a quick screenshot of the poll results as of the posting of this video. Deathpaw came close, but Cat Meat prevailed. Cat Meat was actually suggested by 3 different viewers: Fredzy, Glenn Perkins, and Trigger Fairy. Thanks, guys, and I want to thank everyone else who contributed their creative choices as well. So many good ones, it was hard to narrow it down. Speaking of contributions, I mentioned a couple episodes back that I was going to save some space on the marquee sign for Patreon contributors. And as you can see, I have immortalized their names on the marquee. Just their first names for space, but I'm very thankful to my patrons for helping me get a little bit closer to doing YouTube full time. So, a quick shout out to N Games, Jack Caldwell, Joseph Waln, Kaya Rimbeed Mickiewicz, Meredith Mattingly, Patrick Yorth, and Ron Marin. A heartfelt thanks to you guys for being early supporters of the channel. Also, I'm extending the introductory offer to get your name on the marquee through the rest of September, which will show up in an early October video. Basically, just become a Patreon at any level. After September, the perk to get your name in a video goes back to its normal listed tier level. So if you want in, check out the link in the description to the iCard above. If I get enough new names, I'll actually create a wall of fame over on the side of the building. I plan to embed something in the wall here that'll be backlit and look totally original and really cool. You'll see, but only if we get enough new names. And lastly, before we get to today's lesson, I wanted to give you a quick tour of some of the improvements I made to the building next door. I imagine this building is probably the house where the teacher lives. So as you can see, it's a little more lit up, added some more decorations. Yeah, it's looking nice, it's looking nice. Of course, we have our nice gun rack display here. You guys saw from my last video. It's awesome. It's totally flush on the side here. In fact, more than flush. I was able to get this wall here to block the conduit, so all you see is the face there. Looks excellent. But what I really wanted to show you was upstairs. Built this whole thing out. Looks pretty sweet. So I'll kind of start around here, you know, got the dresser, lamp, the bed. I managed to fill in all of the junk area of the floor with these nice wood panelings from, I believe, the warehouse section. And grabbed these pictures from around Jamaica Plain. Didn't pick them up, just dragged them over here so you can keep the little pictures in the picture frames. Same with this one right here. This I wanted to show you because it's an example of a slightly easier way to do the gun rack than the one downstairs that I showed you in the last video. Basically all I did was just add a door and put the pistol racks on a back wall there. And it doesn't do anything special other than just, you know, give you a nice cool place to put your guns. And if I'm in a hurry, I can actually reach through here and grab them. But yeah, you know, just a slightly easier method if you wanted to display some cool guns but didn't want to go through the more advanced rigmarole that I showed you in the last video, which was kind of a complex lesson, but I think people really appreciate it. It's gotten a ton of views so far, so I'm happy about that. And we got our, you know, little workstation here with my little work computer, got a pull-out keyboard. But this is awesome because even though it looks kind of like a desk computer here, this actually can control all the colored lights throughout the facility. It can control the switches. It can turn on or turn off the firework mortar, do all sorts of things and create delays for it. So it's really kind of cool to have this hooked up here, you know, kind of becomes a more than just decoration. And then this is kind of neat. I made the stereo actually functional by rug glitching in some radios. It's cool. This one is tuned into rock, and if I want to hear classical, I just turn this one off and turn this one on, and then rug glitch to safe in here. So all those parts now are being used. I like to make things really neat and clean, but also super functional, you know? That's kind of what I try to go for. I don't try to clutter it up too much. I like some open space here. And built this neat little mushroom light on the top of the stairs by just pillar glitching that on there. I had to keep good old Gulacorn over here as a memento. Okay, well, let's get on to today's lesson. Okay, so what we're going to talk about today is junk decoration, specifically what is safe and what isn't to place your cool collectibles on. I'll refer to all that stuff in this video as drop objects, which is the blanket term I'll use for all the junk items, aid items, miscellaneous items, weapons, ammo, etc., etc. Basically, if you can drop it out of your inventory and place it on a shelf, then it's a drop object. Now, if you've done any kind of settlement building in Fallout 4, you've probably found out the hard way that drop objects don't always stay on the thing you've placed them on. You come back to your settlement after an adventure and they've all shifted around or been scattered around the floor, or they've dropped through the floor. In the worst case scenarios, they'll go so far as to have dropped through the ground plane itself and become irretrievable. I definitely know how frustrating that can be. I actually lost a really cool legendary weapon while I was decorating Vault 42, and I was so disappointed. I didn't want to reload because I had gone on to build like the entire upstairs area, which took days and days before I noticed that weapon was gone. So I just had to let it go. But I immediately added this topic to my list to discuss as part of the No Mods Shop class. Now, speaking of mods, I know many of you probably use one of several available mods that turn drop objects into immovable settlement objects. If I were ever to use any mod, it would be one of those. So if you use a mod like this, I realize this video may be slightly more relevant to you than others, but I wanted to post it anyway for the non-modders out there like me who enjoy the challenge and personal achievement of playing the game and building settlements with what we were given. So hopefully at least a good segment of you will find this video useful. And who knows, maybe you do use mods, but you're doing a playthrough for all the trophies, or maybe you had a bad experience with a mod and want to do a clean playthrough. You know, who knows? So let's talk about why drop objects fall through tables and shelves anyway. Well, I can't deny that it's one of the most frustrating developer oversights. If there was a poll of the most frustrating Bethesda glitches, I bet this glitch is near the top of the list, if not the #1 contender. Now, unlike my theory about why the rug glitch, the settlement size glitch, and the pillar glitch are not actually glitches, the drop object glitch is definitely a glitch. So how does it happen? Well, here's one fan theory. Longtime viewer of the Skooled Zone, Patrick Yorth, suggested that it's because when you arrive at the settlement and the game engine starts to load everything, the small items get loaded first because the larger objects take longer to load. So all the smaller junk items materialize first without the support of the larger object they're resting on and thus fall through. That sounds like a good theory as any. And the only thing I'd add to that is that different settlement objects have different complexities to their wire mesh. The more detailed the wire mesh, the less gaps there are in the spider web, so to speak. Some settlement objects were just given more attention when creating their wireframes than others. There was a discussion in the comment section of my Jukebox video about why the newer Jukebox from the Vault-Tec DLC behaves slightly differently when using the rug glitch than the original Jukebox. Several viewers noted that items added in later DLC are better at holding up junk. I think that's true. Take the table in the classroom where I placed all the tools. Now, none of these tools have fallen through the table, and it's been quite a while, and this table is one that was added with the Vault-Tec DLC. It doesn't apply to all the newer items, which I'll show you in a second, but for the most part, I think more effort was put into the mesh of the newer DLC items. If you guys have any other ideas on that, feel free to share them down below in the After School Club. In fact, what I want to do in this video is actually crowdsource the knowledge. I set up a few examples here that I'm going to rate on a scale of 1 to 10. If you guys are up for it, leave a comment down below on other items that you think are particularly bad or particularly good at supporting drop objects. Describe the item in detail so we'll know which item you're talking about, and then leave your rating from 1 to 10. 10, of course, being best. That way the comment section can be a long-term resource for others to come check out what you guys think is safe and unsafe. Now, if I get enough good suggestions, I'll actually create a web page compiling all the info and link it in the description. I may even go so far as to create an interactive rating system on the web page where you can like vote with stars or something like that. We'll see if I can find the time for that. But check back on this video from time to time to see if that web link is there, and then you can just bookmark that web page for future reference. There are currently no ads on the Skooled Zone website, so I'm not just trying to drive traffic over there. I actually want it to be a valuable supplemental resource to my YouTube channel. About a year and a half ago, I created a downloadable map of the Commonwealth that has since been downloaded like thousands of times, probably by some people that aren't even subscribed to the channel. So it'd be great if I could start doing more things like that and create more value out of the website. Anyway, let's get on to some of my ratings to get the ball rolling. All right, let's start down here with the main shelf, the main display shelf. Disappointingly, This item, I think, has one of the lowest ratings out of most of the items I'm going to show you today, which is unfortunate because this is the thing that you put all your like cool collectibles on it. You know what I mean? So, this is going to apply to the one that's the double too, but this one has a real problem holding objects, especially when it comes to like the middle shelves, the top and the middle shelves. The bottom shelves seem okay, probably because it's thicker and has, a larger spider web, so to speak, that wireframe. The middle shelves probably don't have as much opportunity to catch objects when they reload. So for this particular shelf, I'm going to probably have to give it a rating of about a 3 out of 10. So tell me what you guys think. If you think it's lower, maybe a little higher. If there are other shelves that are similar to this that you can give a rating to, that would be great. Okay, next we have the countertops. I haven't noticed a big difference between the newer countertops and the older ones, but these are semi-decent at holding objects. I've put objects on them and did find them later to have fallen through, and I had to move them out of the way. You can check first before you think it's completely gone and move it out of the way and see if the object has fallen through. Here's another trick for you. If you've placed the object down and you've glitched a bunch of things into it and you can't really move it out of the way, then one thing you can do is select it, don't place it again, and if you see the object is down there on the ground, you can try to knock it out of the way with your feet, kick it out from under it, and then cancel it. It'll pop back into place, and then you can go back over here and pick up all the objects and try to reset them on the table. There's one little trick for you. So for this one, I would probably give this one a 5 out of 10. All right, next we have the magazine rack. Both of these are magazine racks. These both came in the original game, and these are perfect. I haven't had a single problem with losing a magazine or even settlers taking them off of the magazine racks, nothing like this. So this is one of those rare ones that I personally would give 10 out of 10. So you can feel safe about putting your magazines on here, coming back months later, and they'll still be there. So that's really fortunate. Okay, here's an example of one of the Vault-Tec DLC items, this file cabinet here, of various iterations that you want to do with it. You'll see in an upcoming video where I actually use this instead of as a filing cabinet, but like as a water tank. And it looks really cool. But and then I tried to place something on top of this, and it didn't last very long at all. I put an object right up here, and it fell through within just a couple of days. So although as a cabinet item, it's probably a 10 out of 10, as a item to place objects on top of, I would probably give it a 4. So this is a good example of where we can split the vote. Placing objects inside of the file cabinet is probably a 10 out of 10. Placing objects on top of the filing cabinet, I would give a 4 out of 10. All right, next we have the desk. This one I wanted to show because it's one of the newer desks from Vault-Tec, I believe. And desks, unfortunately, also aren't great to place objects on. This newer desk doesn't seem to be any better. And I think it's because, once again, if I get down here, we just have a thin little barrier here to try to catch those objects before they fall through. So when I've placed objects on here, like in Vault 42, I had a bunch of objects on the desk in my upstairs overseer's quarters. They fall through the desk, and I have to pick them up pretty often. In fact, when they fall through, I don't know if it's a momentum thing or what, but if they fall through, sometimes they'll fall completely through the floor and down onto the ground below. And I'm finding like a telephone that I put on here, down on the ground. It's really unfortunate. So for this desk, I would probably give it, like a 6 out of 10. All right, next we have the pool table. Surprisingly, the pool table is fairly secure. And once again, I don't know if my theory applies here, but I think it's because it's just thicker. When you do something like, let's say, for example, I don't know if it's going to work with this. I'll just give it a try. But let's say, for example, you select this pool table and you fall through it and then you cancel it. See how you rise back up again? So I think objects can do that as well. So if an object materializes or reloads and it starts to fall through the table, but then finally the table materializes, I think it'll try to push it back up again onto the table. So that's why thicker objects, in my theory, in my humble opinion at least, I think have a better chance of surviving, which doesn't explain this too much, unless this entire center here is completely hollow as far as its wireframe. But as far as the pool table goes, it's safe. I've had billiard balls and pool sticks on the table last, like from Finch Farm, for example. If you guys saw my Finch Farm build, I have a pool table. I've never had to pick up the pool balls, and that's been like a year on that one. So I would give this one probably, like at least a 8 or a 9 out of 10. Okay, next we have the safe. Now, all containers, I do believe, if they are within the settlement boundaries, will never respawn. So all your objects that you place inside of safes can stay there without any concern to you. The only thing, though, is that settlers can take objects out of containers. All right, I've had weapons stashed at another settlement of mine that I put down here that I thought was safe. It's a safe, that's what it's called. It's supposed to be safe, but settlers will grab weapons if they're valuable weapons, or even ammo, or even some other junk items sometimes out of your containers. So unless you find a way to make the container inaccessible to settlers, then even these containers don't get a 10 out of 10. Fortunately, they don't seem to be able to grab things off of magazine racks or these armored mannequins. So for those, I'm going to be giving them a 10 out of 10, but this safe, I'm probably going to have to give a 9 out of 10, only because settlers can take objects. Same applies to this vault trunk here. Now, as far as setting objects on top of this vault trunk, it's not too bad, actually. I've had several objects able to stay on top of this vault trunk for quite a while. So the inside of the trunk, I would give, a 9 out of 10, only because settlers can grab the objects out of there. But placing objects on top of the trunk is not too shabby. I would give it probably a 7 out of 10. The armor racks are completely safe. I feel very secure about putting all of my completely unique armors onto armor racks. And not only will they never fall off, but settlers won't take them either. All right, unlike power armor that you might have, scattered around your settlement. I've seen settlers go so far as to take fusion cores out of your safes, walk over to power armors, and then use the fusion cores in the power armors. That's how clever the AI is, but they don't seem to affect these armor racks. So like the magazine racks, I would give the armor racks a 10 out of 10. Display cases. Oh boy, these display cases. You'd think that these are specifically made for displaying your cool junk items, but they don't get a 10 out of 10. I would say that they probably even go so far as to get only a 5 out of 10. Objects that you set down on this platform right here will fall through 50% of the time. And I've even done really cool lighting stuff inside of there, and I've had to completely dismantle the case to find the items that had fallen through that were too good to let go. So that's a big oversight on Bethesda's part, making the things that are supposed to be displaying the junk some of the worst of the bunch. Now, these aren't as bad as the shelves, of course, but they're not great, which goes for the wide ones as well. In my humble opinion, I'll see what you guys think. And last but not least, we have the weapon display racks. These are also completely safe. Like, your weapons won't fall off these racks. But the reason I'm not going to give them a 10 out of 10 is because settlers can grab the weapons off your weapon racks, which is just, oh, that was weird. Did you guys see that? With a little solar eclipse flare there or something. Anyway, so I would give these, and these go for all the different types here. I would give these a 9 out of 10. So you probably heard me talk in lesson 2 or 3 of the Nomad Shop class where I found Abraham over at Finch Farm. He had grabbed my alien blaster off of the rack in there, and I had lost it for like several levels, probably a good 10 or 20 levels. I didn't know where it was, and I finally found it was him that had taken it off the rack. He just didn't have any fusion cores, so he was using another gun in the meantime, which is a waste. It's like, why grab a gun if you can't use it? You know what I mean? But they do. So that's why I created this more secure weapon rack in here, because settlers, I found, can't seem to use switches. So if you really want to keep your fabulous guns secure, then that's the way to go. Alright guys, well I hope this video was helpful. Hopefully that's enough examples to get the ball rolling on any objects you've encountered that are either average, excellent, or poor at holding your junk. Leave those comments down below and let's crowdsource that knowledge. And be sure to share this video around so we get more input from others in the building community. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you back soon for another lesson in the No Mod Shop class. Happy building, and class dismissed.